So I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I'm going to be really, really, really honest. This is somehow a controversial statement to have an opinion, base an opinion on facts, and base an opinion on what you are seeing with your own two eyes. And that is my opinion that the Indiana Fever are the second best team in the WNBA. They're saying, oh, they're the 6th seed, but like they're 1.5 games off too. I'm sorry, like, wow, you're 1.5 games off too. They're 2-0 against the Aces. They're 1-2 against these two teams. So against all the teams ahead of them, again, they're 0-1 against 2 of the teams. Against these 3 teams right here, that I think are in the conversation really with the Fever for who the second best team in the WNBA is, the Indiana Fever are 4-4. They're 4-4 against these teams. So it's not like they've done bad. And I'm out here, I'm going to be agreeing with Robin. So I listened to a little bit of Robin's stream today, talking about his controversial Fever Lynx statement. And look, I think the Lynx are the best team in the league. Depth-wise, I think the Lynx are the best. And I think after the Lynx, there are a million flaws to every other team. Like, the Indiana Fever are a severely flawed roster. There's no question about that. They are flawed. The Aces have zero depth. Like, the Aces are starting Stephanie Talbot, who is the worst starter in any of these teams, and the Fever start Lexi Hull. And that's a bad showing for Stephanie Talbot. I'm shocked that we're still seeing Kirsten Bell playing minutes. I'm surprised that we're not seeing Pasok get more of a run in, but it is what it is. She was never really brought into play this year anyway. For Atlanta, you are so reliant on Ryan Howard or Alicia Gray, who are streaky, getting hot on any given day. You are reliant on 2 inconsistent scorers, and your best player this season has been Angel Reese. I don't care about net points. I've been watching these games. When it matters, their best player has been Angel Reese. Dallas cannot play defense. I'll make the argument that at times the Fever don't play defense. Like, Jess Shepard is one of the worst defenders in the league. Dallas are a worse defensive team than the Indiana Fever when it comes down to it. The Fever just play faster. And the Fever give up points at a historic rate. That being said, they score at a historic rate. So there's all flaws with these teams. But the Lynx are out on their own. And I think a lot of the playoffs is going to come down to matchups. I think a team like the Washington Mystics match up better to Minnesota than any of these top teams do. I really think they do. And then you just never know what's going to happen with the New York Liberty. You really, really don't. Like, the Liberty are currently, like, John Quell seems to be hurt right now. They're struggling against the Seattle Storm. While the Dream are getting pummeled by the Aces. These type of things happen. But the one thing that I watched yesterday, and I fully stand by, is that the Indiana Fever, at the end of that game, yes, Courtney Williams executed extremely well. I think if the Indiana Fever didn't build themselves a deficit in the weird Maisha Hines-Allen and Raven Johnson minutes, where they just looked like they didn't know how to play basketball. Other than that, even up to the fourth quarter, they were winning those minutes. But the thing is, I'm going to be real here. The Indiana Fever had more legs. They were tired. They were on a road trip. They had a 34-hour break between games. They were the team that had the better legs. And you could see with Minnesota, it was hitting them. Like, Olivia Miles was gassed. Courtney Williams was not. In fairness to Courtney Williams, she was stepping up. But Tash Howard was in foul trouble. Miles was completely gassed. Kayla McBride was gassed. Nia Coffey, again, didn't do much in that game. Fee was anonymous. Fee was genuinely anonymous in that game. I know she had 18 points. She had a quiet 18. But it felt in general like she was anonymous. They could not, I don't think they can keep up with the Fever. I really don't. And I don't think any of these teams can keep up with the Fever. That being said, there's one team in the Golden State Valkyries that can slow down the Fever. That is if I'm the Indiana Fever, and these weird styles make fights, because I think outside of Minnesota, there's no team where I'm like, this team's way better than any other team in the playoffs. Like, I don't think there's any guarantee other than Minnesota of a team winning the first round. Like, if the Fever get the 2 seed and come up against a healthy Liberty, that's a tough one, especially if by then Lainey Hamilton's in the team and they just have they use that long zone. If Phoebish is back, if Satu's back, and suddenly you've got Phoebish and Stewie at the top of his zone, with like Satu and Sab on the wings and Jonquil in the middle, and you're like, oh shit. Like, this is a real tough thing to beat. And the Fever struggle on zones. For Atlanta, you've got someone who I'm confident will play well in the playoffs, Angel Reese, but I don't know if I trust Atlanta. I don't think Dallas are there. I just don't. I've watched enough of the Dallas Wings. I think they're good. This feels like a regular season team. It just does. I think Paige and AZ are going to be okay in the playoffs. But this feels like a regular season team. I don't know how Enrique steps up. I think Jess Shepard is going to get exposed in the playoffs. I think she's going to get absolutely exposed. And again, I still think she's going to make an all-WNBA team, but she feels like the type of big that will get exposed in the playoffs. Just because of her lack of defense and how many touches she needs. Because she got exposed in the playoffs last year. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't trust this team in the playoffs. I think if I'm the Fever and I'm seeing the Valks at 4, like if the Valks drop to 4 and Minnesota are 1, and I'm the Fever, I'm doing everything I can to get into 6th. I think the Fever have a great chance of beating the Dream or the Aces. I would favor the Fever in all those series. And like I would favor the Fever in the first round. As long as they don't finish 8th to face Minnesota, I'd favor them in any first round series other than the Valkyries. But if I'm looking at the Valks, I only favor the Valkyries against like the Fever and the Wings. Other than that, maybe the Dream. Like I would ironically favor the Liberty over the Valks. Maybe the Mystics. Like the Aces. I think the Aces could make the finals. If they make the finals, they have that experience. Or they could lose in the first round. It's a tough one. And that's the thing with how close all these teams are. It becomes just opinion. I think based on stats, second in net rating is the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever are the greatest offense of all time. They have, in my opinion, the greatest offensive player to ever live in Caitlin Clark. And again, not that I've followed the league as closely as I have now, but I've absolutely been following this league for well over a decade on and off. Caitlin Clark is the best all-around offensive player this league has ever seen in terms of her overall impact. And you've got these dumbass Kelsey Mitchell fans that me saying that Kelsey Mitchell is a play finisher and not a playmaker is a knock on Kelsey Mitchell. No, you have one of the greatest spark plug scorers ever. You've got one of the quickest players ever who shoots 40% from 3 and finishes really well. And also, if you don't know, Kelsey Mitchell plays equally as well versus the good teams as the bad teams. Like if you look at all the top players in the league, the only player that plays better against good teams than bad teams is Olivia Miles. The only other top MVP candidates, even like an equivalent, is Kelsey Mitchell. She averages like 24 against bad teams, 23 against good teams. Like if you look at Aja, Paige, and Caitlin, there's like a 3-point per game difference swing in all the stats. But yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I do believe that the stats back up that the Fever are one of the best teams in the league, if not the second best team. And for me, the eye test, this team is still not, like, I'm looking at these teams and thinking, okay, this team, we know what this team are. I feel like the Fever are the only team in this league right now to have another level to go. I might be saying, why do I think they have another level to go? Because this team is bad. The big three have not figured out how to work together for long periods of time, for multiple games at a time. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin absolutely have. You see the numbers. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin. We're now at the stage where Kelsey Mitchell on by herself without Aaliyah and Caitlin versus Caitlin on by herself without Aaliyah and Kelsey are basically, and then Kelsey and Caitlin on together without Aaliyah are all like top 2 in the league in net rating lineups. When none of them are on, they're the worst team in the history of the WNBA. But when the problem is when all 3 of them on, they're a net even team. They are like a net even team. But yet, when Caitlin and Leah are on by themselves, all of a sudden, like they've been poor. So I think they have another level to go. When Caitlin and Leah figure out how to play with each other again, and that's the weird problem is that it's not a Kelsey and Caitlin problem. It is the best duo from 2025. There was 8 points generated from Caitlin Clark for Aaliyah Boston from Caitlin Clark assists, and a lot of people are going to be talking about Aaliyah. They're going to be talking, oh, look at her points are up. And the Fever is scoring more points than ever. She's shooting the 3. And it just feels like the Fever really dropped the ball because Aaliyah became the stretch big they needed. She became that stretch big. She doesn't bang inside like she used to. She's not as strong. She's not as heavy. I think she's a more versatile player. Problem is they kind of failed Aaliyah because they didn't bring in that big, but at the same time, does that big exist? And we talked about Lana Smith, but they got Lana Smith with a 3-year max. And thank God we didn't, I genuinely thank God we didn't fall for that one. Like, I thought Lana Smith was a big player to get. And same with Azare. And I was like, okay, yeah, these are good players. But, like, thank God we didn't fall for them. Even Azare's looked really bad this year. But if I'm being real here, when it comes down to it, I stand by what Robin Lundberg said. The Indiana Fever are the second best team. That yesterday was a matchup of the 2 best teams. And yesterday, I think the Lynx were the better team. Yes. It's funny because it was such a close game that I don't think down the stretch the referees made any bad calls. Like I don't feel like you can look at a possession in the first quarter of a game and say, if the ref called this is a 2-point game, if the ref calls this right, it changes the game. Because games are different. Game flow is different. It's a sport of basketball. It's not like soccer where one goal is going to change the game. One basket in the first quarter is not going to change the game because with a big scoreboard there and teams are seeing it, the game flows, the game changes in different ways. Teams try to play out games differently. Yeah, so that's just that. I felt like we saw the best team in the WNBA face second best team, and I think we also saw the best team face the most dangerous team. And I think the Indiana Fever are the most dangerous team. I also feel like the Aces are an extremely dangerous team. Like, you're looking at them today, and Aja is 23, Jackie is 22, and Alyssa is 14, Chelsea is 10. Aja's plus 35 here on 8 of 11 shooting. Like, you've got the Aces are the greatest player of all time in their prime. They have... It's funny, we're finally seeing Jackie Young be listed at her rightful position of point guard. We've got one of the greatest guards to ever live in Jackie Young, probably the most underrated player in the history of the WNBA, who's kind of been overshadowed by being the number 2 to Angel Wilson for all this time, and maybe number 3 in Chelsea Grace prime, and even the list is starting to step up. But again, when your bench is Jewel Lloyd, Bree Turner, Dana Evans, and let's say Jewel Lloyd starts, so your bench really is Steph Talbot, Bree Turner, Dana Evans, and Kirsten Bell, you're going to struggle a little bit. But for me, I just feel like the Indiana Fever just... It's like a boxing fight where no matter how far the Indiana Fever are down, the Indiana Fever have, when you employ Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell on your team, you employ 2 players with the capability of hitting you, being on the ropes in round 12 and hitting you with a knockout punch. The Indiana Fever feel like the Minnesota Lynx are the Floyd Mayweather. They're going to win. They're not going to hit you with a knockout punch. They're going to go on a 4-0 run here, a 6-0 run there. They're going to weather the storm of your runs. They're that type of team. The Indiana Fever are going for the knockout punch. Yes, they can blow a 20-point lead. We know that, but they have the ability. They have knockout power like nobody else. So yes, I agree with Robin. I'll see you guys.